friends, I'll die a very rich man with more pallbearers than anyone could need. I think it's safe to say that 2 of them will be Bob Fisher, a football player, and the other new pal is Bob Potter, Robert Sturgis Potter, from Philadelphia and rich as Croesus. That qualifies him to live at Randolph Hall, which is one of the plushest dormitories on the Gold Coast. Oh yes, in answer to your other question, the Gold Coast is sort of slang for Mount Auburn Street, where the wealthiest fellows live in the most expensive dorms, while yours truly has to make the best of it at Perkins Hall. Yes, Rose, I'm afraid that there are 2 sides to the railroad tracks at Harvard, just as everywhere else. I don't have to tell you which side an Irish Catholic politician's son from Boston is on. But to fiddle a bit with the old joke, why did the Irish Catholic from Boston cross the tracks? To get to the other side.
Mike's been caught with his hand in the honey pot, and there's no altering the fact of it.
And who was it lifted the lid to him, winking? Without your testimony to the grand jury, Mike will walk out of that courthouse free as a bird and fly away home.
I have no greater wish, as God is my judge.
The prosecution will base all its questions to you on your testimony to the grand jury.
If he doesn't, you're a dunce for district attorney.
If your answers support those to the grand jury, Mike will be doing hard labor on Deer Island for the next year or 2.
And if they don't, I'm up for perjury, quick as a wink.
There's another way. It's been 6 months since your grand jury appearance.
The wheels of justice grinding exceedingly slow and such.
A man's memory might lapse to a considerable degree in the space of so long a time between the saying of something and the saying of it again. You needn't deny what you told the grand jury. You need only not recall saying it.
And who'd believe it? And wouldn't I look the total jackass into the bargain?
Sell it my way, Johnny. If we don't, Mitch will sit up and tell all in clear and ringing tones that with the Flagstone contracts, as with all the rest, he was no more than following the wishes of Mayor Fitzgerald. It won't aid Mike's cause, but he might well have your company on the road to Deer Island.
Time for a popcorn break.
Dear Mother, school has started in dead earnest. We have not wasted 1 second. I am rather glad, for when I have a great deal to do, the time goes more quickly. And I feel as though a year ought not to be very long in passing, and then I can go home and never have to go away again. Agnes and I try to talk together at night when we are getting ready for bed. We do not have much opportunity during meals, for we have conversation only during breakfast time for a few minutes. I am getting used to this regulation now, but it is very hard.
Mr. Mayor, do you recall the Maha contract incident?
No.
Do you remember giving your sanction to this contract?
I do not.
Do you remember having sanctioned this contract?
I do not.
Dear Joe, on Sundays we have our promenade for 1/2 hour. We are free to talk then, and this is our best opportunity to make friends. Although I tell you frankly, Joe, you can't make what you call a friend here. It gets a little mite lonesome and monotonous sometimes, especially when we hear about other girls having so much fun at home. The girls are lovely here, but so quiet, no life or excitement. Friendships among the girls are not encouraged by the nuns. We're never allowed to demonstrate too much affection with one another. The nuns are very strict about this. I don't know why. My most hearty congratulations on your election to the Institute of 1770. I share your confidence in being tapped for one of the best clubs, even Porcellian, if that is your fondest wish, as it seems to be. As for myself, if I am extremely angelic, I may become an aspirant for the Children of Mary. That is the highest honor that a child of the Sacred Heart can receive. So I shall have to be a model of perfection for the next few months.
Sacred Heart of Jesus and Immaculate Heart of Mary.
I give you my heart.
Do you recall recall telling the grand jury, I called Mitchell on the telephone and asked him if that price was the best he could do.
I don't recall it.
Do you remember telling the grand jury that you understood later what Mitchell told you had not been found to be in accordance with the facts?
I believed at the time that Mr. Mitchell told me the truth.
So it looks as though Harvard isn't all it was cracked up to be in some ways. I have to admit, in some ways, it's pretty phony. It really is true that you have to come from the right family and the right school to be invited into one of the final clubs. They don't call Mount Auburn Street the Gold Coast for nothing. And incidentally, the right religion doesn't do a fellow any harm either. Bob Fisher was taken by DeGama and Bob Potter by Porcellian. Both are Protestants, of course. Whereas Joe Donovan, Joe Merrill, and Joe Sheehan were all left out in the cold, too, like me. Well, I suppose it's just a question of seeing things more clearly, of seeing things as they really are in life. I suppose that I'll have to adjust my way of thinking slightly, find a slightly different way of going about things in the future.
So I'm a little mite pleased to tell you that I was named yesterday as a child of Mary, which, as I mentioned, is the highest honor and blessing a Sacred Heart girl can get. 2 other girls were also named, an Irish girl and a German girl. One of my pledges at the ceremony was to make the effort necessary to practice those family virtues suited to my position as daughter, wife, and mother, such as kindness, gift of self-abnegation, and evenness. Another was to promise that, in the face of changes of fortune, I will hold my soul free, and, in difficult moments, to obtain from Our Lady of Sorrows the courage to suffer as she did, standing at the foot of the cross.
But despite all the good news about my graduation and my first gainful employment at Columbia Trust, I'm sorry to say that my dad was defeated in his bid for street commissioner. He's taking it like the gent he is, but all know what a bitter pill it is for him to swallow after 25 years of devoted service to the people of this city. I mean no disrespect to either of our families, but I still think politics is a sucker's game where nothing wears out faster than generosity and loyalty. No matter how clever you are or how high you rise, sooner or later, you get beaten.
Bank examiner next, is it?
I hope so, sir.
There's a little bird tells me, and quite often too, that you've been doing quite satisfactory in your present situation.
Frankly, I feel I've outgrown my position at Columbia Trust, Mr. Mayor. I had only intended it as a sort of apprenticeship anyway.
And nothing better than getting on in the world.
As I say, I've passed the exam, but so have a lot of other fellas. It's a very long list of applicants.
And room for how many to get the nod?
The governor will choose 3 bank examiners and 22 assistant examiners.
I know I come into the picture somewhere here, Joe. Let's not keep it a secret any longer, shall we?
I have reason to believe that I might not be among the chosen few, Mr. Mayor.
State your reasons.
This is a list of examiners from the Bank Commissioner's Department going back 30 years. It was hinted to me by Mr. Wellington, the treasurer at Columbia Trust, and the record bears him out, that there hasn't been in all that time, maybe longer, a single Irish Catholic bank examiner for the state of Massachusetts.
Are you alleging calculated discrimination?
The record suggests a decided possibility, sir.
And a word or two in the governor's ear.